Review of Marshals Season 1 Episode 2, Kayce is unable to break free from the Dutton image. Kayce is reminded of one thing in Marshals Season 1 Episode 2, Zone of Death: he still goes by his family name, which has significance in this community. One would assume that Kayce has moved past the most turbulent period of his life now that the Yellowstone saga is finished. But a heritage doesn't go away, and the Dutton family has a complicated past. The phrase, "your past is like your shadow, you cannot outrun it," evokes both dread and respect in different people. However, to an outsider like Marshal Gilford, the term represents everything that is wrong with society. The Duttons stand in for families that have become overly powerful in a particular region of the world and believe they are immune to social norms. If it helps them achieve their goals, Duttons will breach, bend, or ignore the law. It makes perfect sense that Marshal Gilford would be dubious if he saw a Dutton join his crew. Kayce's character is given more depth by concentrating on him in relation to his family's past. Although the character's past is referenced in passing in Marshals Season 1, it could have been a soft reboot, but they make it a part of him. For Kayce, this becomes a continuation of his life rather than a new beginning. In addition to being a marshal, he is a Dutton, a father, a widower, a former Navy SEAL, and a former cattle commissioner with dubious past. At this hour, all of these personas come together as Kayce meets his new teammates and, at last, we get to know the actual people who put on the shows. Being Tate's father is one of the things that Kayce finds easiest. His relationship with Tate is stable as long as he is there for his kid when he needs him. Despite the turmoil in their lives, Tate and Kayce's love continues to be a cornerstone of the show. Kayce worked alongside Pete and his group in Marshals Season 1 Episode 1, now that he's a part of them, we can see them for who they are as he merges. Get to know the team. The strength of a procedural depends on its team. The first impression of the Marshals crew was not good. We didn't know them, so they felt like strangers that we wanted to like but couldn't. By the end of this hour, which delves further into their histories and dynamics, we have one of the most formidable and intricate teams on television right now. Each person brings their unique techniques and intuitions from a different agency. In contrast to the pilot episode, which may have given the impression that Andrea was making an excessive effort to avoid looking like everyone else, this episode shows that she is the show's MVP. She observes the things that everyone overlooks, such as Pete's significant blind spot with Kayce, who is concealing something regarding his brother's abduction. She is direct and astute without being impolite. TV procedurals enjoy portraying each unit as a found family. It's a reassuring falsehood. In actuality, these are powerful individuals with firearms. The accountability that ought to accompany that authority is eliminated when they are treated like a group hug. Pete's group presents itself as a machine. Although each cog has a unique shape, they work together to complete the task. This does not imply that they contort themselves to resemble every other cog. Their role is to fight crime, and when white supremacists do business with non-white gangs, it is evident that they are necessary. The fentanyl bomb exchange puts their teamwork to the test, and although they succeed, it highlights some weaknesses that, if left unchecked, might jeopardize the entire system. Kayce is involved in the most of it. The newest marshal comes to this position with the Dutton family's or his SEAL unit's outdated methods. Andrea doesn't miss the fact that he manipulates Pete by using their shared past. I believe Kayce is aware of what he's doing with that Ronin name drop for whatever reason, but to other team members, they feel like supporting characters in Kayce and Pete's show because of it. Andrea observes how quickly Pete responds, and who knows what may have happened if Kayce had done that during a gunfight. Kayce is an outsider to this group, which is detrimental to both him and the team, as evidenced by his sporadic absences to take care of the ranch, his covert signals with Pete, and his improper initiation. Even more worrisome, though, is his uncontrollably erratic conduct. In this episode, he departs from his crew to pursue the escaped criminals, as we saw in the season premiere. Television hero moments make the experience worthwhile, but when a character consistently deviates from the plot or breaks ranks, it becomes a major issue for everyone. The squad is at risk due to Kayce's actions, particularly now that he has established his own train station. A white supremacist's death isn't exactly keeping me up at night, but it's also not Kayce's place to determine who should. Gut feel. Zone of Death closes a crucial gap in any procedure, the dynamics of the team. At last, we seem to know and comprehend these folks for who they truly are. Andrea is someone who calls it what she sees. She is not cruel for the purpose of being cruel. Miles is a kind person who makes sure that the res is considered at every stage. Bella is a fierce woman who will demonstrate that women don't have to choose between working and being mothers. They are also capable of doing everything. I adore being able to sense the simmering tensions among these folks. They continue to feel erratic and volatile even after this incident. Intrusive thoughts. I didn't have big hopes for this program, but wow, I'm smitten. I've seen every episode at least twice, and there's always something new to learn. I will always find Kayce's deadpan humor endearing. That man has a way of being hilarious without cracking a single joke. Everyone who follows my coverage of Fire Country is aware of my disapproval of Bode's actions, which Kayce is also displaying. But it appears that Kayce has some limitations that Bode does not. Marshals enthusiasts, it's your turn. How did you feel about this episode? Have you yet to identify your prejudice on this team? How do you feel about the Yellowstone mythology? Is it excessive? During the fighting, why did Miles freeze? While monitoring the drug and explosives exchange between the 406 Royals and the Aryan Brethren, Agent Miles Kittle, Tatanka means, is surrounded by a rattlesnake. He is left defenseless and unable to move or speak, so Kayce must step in. Everyone engaged gets into a firefight when Kayce kills a gang member who is in risk of finding Miles. Back at Marshal's headquarters, Miles, a Broken Rock Reservation member, tells Kayce what happened. Out there, I didn't freeze. Killing a rattler is considered a sin and even a bad omen by my people, he explains. Although Kayce respects the reservation's norms, he cautions Miles that adhering to them rigidly at work could put him in danger. There will always be snakes. You can't try to reason with it or hope it would give in. Kayce replies, you have to be more dangerous than it is, or this job might not be for you, and that's okay. Cool, complex, fresh pack, lone wolf. With the ominous title, Zone of Death, the second episode's character development seems promising. The local Marshals Club is formally welcoming Kayce, a lone wolf joining a new pack, as one character puts it. Our main man is given a tour by Belle Skinner, Ariel Kebble, the unstoppable head woman of this establishment. Belle, on the other hand, is doing a commendable job of balancing her family life with depressing procedures. The Latina Marshal Andrea Cruz, portrayed by Ash Santos, is still primarily a sass machine who frequently uses the word abuela. Perhaps, she will soon have a rich inner life of her own. Club is almost exactly what I mean. A foosball table, punching bags, a plush leather couch, required cages for personal belongings, a broad chair that appears to have been bought at Design Within Reach, and French doors, to wear, are all part of the obviously soundstage-designed Marshals compound, which is a labyrinth of man-cave-like chambers. Additionally, there is a cyber area reminiscent of Hackers, the beloved 1995 film starring Angelina Jolie. To locate the criminals, analysts and IT types click and clack on keyboards. However, Kayce is informed that since he is simply here as a gunslinger, he should not worry about this department. Bad stuff. It's still a cool office. Where the bodies are buried is something Kayce is aware of. Kayce's welcome isn't always cordial. In contrast to Kayce's friend and Deputy Marshal Cal, who wears a backward baseball cap, the audacity, Harry Gifford, the head marshal in charge. TV veteran Brett Cullen, you might remember him from The West Wing back in the day, is easily recognized as the white man wearing a cowboy hat. Kayce carries some unwelcome baggage to the marshal badge, which Harry senses. Cal is adamant that Kayce turns us into an elite unit with his expertise. Even more concerning, Cal credits his friend with knowing where the bodies are buried. This argument is, right, refuted by Boss Harry. On the surface, Kayce's involvement seems dubious, the two largest cold cases in the state. The official unsolved disappearance of Kayce's brother Jamie, who Yellowstone fans know is dead after being murdered by Sister Beth and dumped in the so-called Zone of Death by Rip, and the death of Kayce's father, Kevin Costner's beloved patriarch John Dutton III. Fans of Yellowstone were not very fond of the Marshals premiere. The second episode aims to bring those fandoms closer together. Near the start of the episode, Kayce says that Rip, Cole Hauser, is doing well. Afterwards, he is even invited to spend time with his father-in-law, who is not on screen, in order to grieve his wife. I didn't anticipate this work would be that challenging. Even though Marshals may combine its Dutton family history in an uncomfortable way, I can understand that they are making an effort. The conflict starts in episode 2, Zone of Death, when team leader Pete Calvin, Logan Marshal Green, is told by U.S. Marshal boss and returning Yellowstone visitor Harry Gifford, Brett Cullen, that it's usually wise not to give a Dutton too much authority around Montana. You don't find it odd that's he jumping back into law enforcement when the two biggest cold cases in the state are his father's death and his brother's disappearance, questions Harry. Pete replies naively, it's a coincidence. If the U.S. Marshals discovered Jamie's body, how would Kayce respond? He's correct, Pete. Additionally, I had completely forgotten that the Dutton family used to dump dead bodies in a mountain pass in no man's land, Wyoming, until he mentioned it. They referred to it as the train station, which was later changed to the Zone of Death in 1923. As The Sopranos accomplished with the New Jersey Pine Barrens, it's essentially a strip of territory on the border between Montana and Wyoming where you can just dump your dead foes because there is no law enforcement patrol. Following his murder by Beth in the Yellowstone finale, Kayce's brother Jamie, Wes Bentley, was cast into the Zone of Death. Numerous others exist as well. Kayce is therefore a little nervous that one or two of his family's secrets might come to light when the Marshals are dispatched to put an end to a drug deal gone awry. They don't all. However, the Dutton heir is feeling a little anxious about his new career. I hope Marshals decides to stick with Kayce while he deals with the father plot's transgressions, which are introduced in episode 2. That, or in order to maintain the Yellowstone franchise, Marshals will need to do a little more than just mention Rip's name. Get to know the team. The strength of a procedural depends on its team. The first impression of the Marshals crew was not good. We didn't know them, so they felt like strangers we wanted to like but couldn't. By the end of this hour, which delves further into their histories and dynamics, we are left with one of the most formidable and intricate teams on television right now. Each individual brings their own techniques and intuitions from a different agency. In contrast to the pilot episode, which may have given the impression that Andrea was making too much effort to avoid looking like everyone else, this episode shows that she is the show's MVP. She observes things that everyone overlooks, such as Pete's significant blind spot with Kayce, who is concealing something regarding his brother's abduction. She is direct and insightful without being disrespectful. TV procedurals enjoy portraying each unit as a found family. It's a reassuring falsehood. In actuality, these are powerful individuals with firearms. The accountability that ought to accompany that authority is eliminated when they are treated like a group hug. Pete's group presents itself as a machine. Although each cog has a unique shape, they work together to complete the task. This does not imply that they contort themselves to resemble every other cog. Their role is to fight crime, and when white supremacists do business with non-white gangs, it becomes evident that they are necessary. The fentanyl bomb exchange puts their teamwork to the test, and although they succeed, it highlights some weaknesses that, if left unchecked, might jeopardize the entire system. Kayce is involved in the most of it. The newest Marshal comes to this position with the Dutton family's or his SEAL unit's outdated methods. Andrea doesn't miss the fact that he manipulates Pete by using their shared past. The other team members feel like supporting characters in Kayce and Pete's show, but for some reason, I have faith that Kayce understands what he's doing with that Ronin name drop. Andrea observes how quickly Pete responds, and who knows what may have happened if Kayce had done that during a gunfight. Kayce is an outsider to this group, which is detrimental to both him and the team, as evidenced by his sporadic absences to take care of the ranch, his covert signals with Pete, and his improper initiation.